We have always told ourselves that love is what makes us human, that the deep, overwhelming, irrational feeling of being completely devoted to another living being, that belongs to us, that we invented it, that animals simply mate, reproduce, and move on. We were wrong. What scientists have discovered in the last few decades about how animals bond, attach, grieve, and choose their partners is so surprising, so moving, and so deeply familiar that it will completely change the way you look at every animal you have ever seen. From wolves that mourn their partners for months, to fish that remember their best friend for years, to birds that compose private love songs for one specific partner and never sing them for anyone else. Animals do not just mate. Some of them love, and some of them love harder and more faithfully than most humans ever will. Before we get into the stories, let us talk about what love actually is inside the brain. When humans fall in love, three powerful chemicals flood the brain simultaneously. Dopamine, the reward chemical that makes you feel euphoric and obsessed. Oxytocin, the bonding hormone that creates deep attachment and trust. And vasopressin, and which drives loyalty, protectiveness, and long-term commitment. These are not uniquely human chemicals. Every mammal on Earth produces all three, and in many animals, they produce them in response to specific individuals, not just any mate, but one particular partner. The most studied example is the prairie vole, a small mouse-like creature that researchers at Emory University have studied for decades. Prairie voles form lifelong pair bonds. They sleep together, groom each other, and defend each other from threats. When researchers blocked the oxytocin receptors in prairie vole brains, the animals stopped forming bonds entirely. They became indifferent to their partners. When researchers restored the oxytocin, the bonding returned. Love, at its biological core, is a chemistry, and that chemistry is not ours alone. It is ancient, shared, and running through the veins of creatures that were forming pair bonds millions of years before the first human ever walked the earth. Of all the animals that form deep romantic bonds, wolves may be the most powerful example. Wolf packs are built around a single bonded pair, the alpha male and alpha female, and the bond between them is not just social hierarchy, it is genuinely intimate. They travel together constantly. They sleep pressed against each other. They greet each other with physical affection, rubbing faces, touching noses, playing together, behaviors that serve no survival function except the expression of attachment. They hunt together, they make decisions together, the pack follows both of them. Not one leader, but a partnership at the center of the group. And when one of them dies, what happens to the other is heartbreaking. Wildlife researchers studying wolf packs in Yellowstone National Park documented what happened when alpha females lost their partners. The surviving wolves showed dramatic behavioral changes, reduced hunting, social withdrawal, loss of appetite, and what researchers described as prolonged listlessness that lasted weeks and sometimes months. One famous case involved a wolf known as Wolf 832F, one of the most studied wolves in Yellowstone history. After her bonded partner was killed, she was observed returning repeatedly to the locations they had frequented together, standing in those places alone, for no apparent reason other than the going back. Scientists are careful with their language. They say grief-like behavior, they say attachment disruption, but when you hear the story, you know what it is. If you want the most faithful love story in the entire animal kingdom, look up. Albatrosses are seabirds with wingspans of up to 3.5 meters. They spend most of their lives alone in the open ocean, flying thousands of miles, sometimes circling the entire globe without landing, and yet they choose one partner, and they stay with that partner for their entire lives, which can be up to 70 years. Here is what makes this extraordinary. Albatrosses spend months and sometimes years apart, each one flying their own path across different oceans. Then they return to the same island, the same nesting site, and find each other again every single time. But the most beautiful part of albatross love is not the faithfulness, it is the courtship dance. When two albatrosses first choose each other as young birds, they spend months developing a private dance, a sequence of movements, calls, bill gestures, and poses that is unique to their pair alone. No other two albatrosses in the world have the same dance. It is their private language, their song that belongs only to them, and every time they reunite after months apart, they perform it, the full dance, together as if saying, I remember you. I still know every step. I still choose you. Researchers have observed albatross pairs that have been together for over 50 years still performing their full courtship dance at reunion, 50 years of choosing the same partner every single time. Dolphins are among the most socially complex animals on Earth, and their capacity for deep individual attachment goes far beyond what most people realize. Male dolphins form alliances, partnerships between 2 or 3 specific individuals that can last for decades. These are not random groupings. They are chosen relationships, maintained through constant physical contact, cooperative hunting, and mutual defense. Researchers at the University of Massachusetts studying dolphins in Shark Bay, Australia, found that male dolphin partnerships showed the same neurochemical bonding signatures as romantic pair bonds in other species. These animals were not just cooperating, they were attached. And when those bonds broke, through death or separation, the behavioral changes were significant and measurable. Reduced social activity, disrupted feeding patterns, what the researchers described in careful scientific language as social distress. But perhaps the most heartbreaking dolphin behavior ever documented involves mothers. Dolphins have been observed carrying their dead calves, sometimes for days, swimming with the body, refusing to let it sink, returning to it again and again. Marine biologists who have witnessed this describe it as among the most difficult things they have ever seen in the ocean. A mother who cannot accept that her child is gone. Who keeps returning? Who keeps carrying? If that is not love, nothing is. Elephants may have the deepest emotional lives of any land animal on Earth. They live in tight family groups led by a matriarch, the oldest, most experienced female. These families stay together for life. They make decisions together, protect each other fiercely, and show unmistakable signs of joy when reunited after separation, spinning, flapping their ears, rumbling with a sound researchers call the greeting rumble. A vocalization made only in moments of genuine excitement at seeing a specific individual again, but it is what elephants do with death that reveals the depth of their attachment most powerfully. When an elephant dies, the herd does not simply leave the body and move on. They stand around it, they touch it, gently, repeatedly, with their trunks. They make low, rumbling vocalizations. They stay for hours, sometimes days, and the behavior does not end when they finally leave. Elephants return to the bones of their dead, sometimes years later. When a herd encounters the remains of another elephant, they stop. They touch the bones. They spend time there in apparent contemplation. Researchers have documented elephants showing particular interest in the bones of specific individuals, their own family members, touching those bones with more attention and apparent recognition than the bones of strangers. They remember, after years, they remember who this was. Cynthia Moss, who spent decades studying elephants in Amboseli National Park, documented a matriarch who returned repeatedly to the place where her calf had died, standing there, touching the ground for years after the death. She remembered exactly where it happened, and she kept going back. In the bird world, love gets extraordinarily creative. Songbirds, sparrows, finches, warblers do not just sing, they compose. Male songbirds learn a basic template of song from their fathers, then spend the first year of their lives improvising, adding, refining, developing a unique personal song that belongs to them alone. And researchers discovered something remarkable about how female songbirds respond. They do not simply respond to the loudest or most complex song, they respond to specific voices, to individual signatures, to the particular song of a particular bird they have chosen. When researchers played recorded songs to female songbirds, the females responded far more strongly to the song of their own bonded partner than to any other bird, even birds with objectively more complex songs. It was not about the music, it was about who was singing. Then there is the bowerbird, perhaps the most romantic architect in nature. The male bowerbird builds an elaborate structure, the bower, entirely to attract a single female. He collects objects of specific colors, arranges them in precise patterns, and spends weeks decorating and redecorating based on the female's reactions. He watches her, he adjusts, He changes what is not working. He tries again. When she finally enters the bower and accepts him, the structure that took weeks to build is abandoned. It was never a home. It was only ever a declaration. I built this for you, just to show you what I am capable of. Here is what all of this means. For centuries, we told ourselves a story that humans are special, that our emotions are elevated, that love, grief, loyalty, and devotion are things that only we truly experience, that animals simply follow instinct while we alone feel. Science has quietly, patiently, and completely dismantled that story. The wolf that returns to the places it shared with its partner, it is not following instinct. Instinct would tell it to find a new partner and move on. It is doing something instinct does not explain. The albatross that performs a 50-year-old private dance, that is not programming. That is memory. That is devotion. The elephant that touches the bones of its dead child years later, that is not mechanical behavior. That is grief that time has not erased. What these animals are experiencing may not be identical to what you feel. Their consciousness, their inner world, their experience of emotion. We cannot fully know these things. Science is honest about its limits, but the chemicals are the same, the behaviors are the same, the consequences of loss are the same, and perhaps most importantly, the choice is the same. These animals are not loving randomly, they are loving specifically. One wolf, one albatross, one dolphin partner, one elephant family member, the choice of a specific individual out of all possible individuals, and the devotion that follows that choice. If that is not love, it is the closest thing to it that biology has ever produced. The wolf standing alone in the place they used to go together? The albatross performing a dance it has not forgotten in 50 years? The elephant touching bones and remembering? The dolphin who will not let go? The bowerbird who built something beautiful just to say, "Look what I made for you"? None of them read about love. None of them watched movies about it or listened to songs about it or had anyone tell them what it was supposed to feel like. They just felt it, and they acted on it in the most honest, unfiltered, uncomplicated way possible. Maybe that is what love actually is underneath all the words and the songs and the stories we wrap around it. Maybe it is just this, the choosing of one, the staying, the remembering, the not letting go. Drop a comment below. Which animal story hit you the hardest? I genuinely want to know. And if this video made you think of someone you love, go tell them. Because if a bowerbird can spend weeks building something beautiful just to say I choose you, you can send a message.